everyone. Welcome back to Fingerless Gloves, the show where we research, invent, and answer the daftest, wildest, and silliest concept, ideas, and questions in the search for both a banging thumbnail and a positive impact on humanity. On today's show, we have Oscar, Sten, Max, and myself, Harrison, and our 4 prompts this week are Zimmer frame attachments.
Why not?
Are those hovercrafts on each foot of the Zimmer frame?
Space beef.
Return of the ribeye.
The return of the
Oh, yes.
Underwater paintball.
I think I have solved potentially how to do the paint and getting the pellets far enough, but I haven't solved that not killing people.
And ancient Roman hipsters. This piece here is called the Sten Germani. And to lead us in with the first attempt to change the world, we have Oscar. Oscar, tell us, which of those 4 prompts was yours this week?
So my prompt was underwater paintball.
Nice.
Now, guys, just to start off, like paintball is great, right? But it's missing something, and I think we all know what that is. And if it's all right with you guys, I'm going to count to 3, and I want you guys to just all say it. Just say honestly what you think it's missing. Right, 1, 2, 3. About 5 million liters of water.
Right.
I think we all said that. I think we all said the same thing, right? I said at least 5 million liters of water, right?
I said
paintball's
death.
great. You said death?
That is dark.
What did Max Harrison? What did you say?
I said igloos.
I said
Igloos.
It didn't make any sense whatsoever. But
Yeah, I fully disagree with that actually, because I think, I mean, paintball's fantastic, you know, like with just a conventional sort of arena type thing, but I feel like a lot of people play it because they kind of like video games, like, you know, big ones like Halo and stuff. But they're like, Halo's great because you can kind of the courses and arenas are more kind of 3-dimensional, right? There's levels to them, and scuba diving, being underwater, you can like change with your buoyancy the level you're at. So you can have 3D arenas, right? And I'm imagining like, I mean, the reason I said at least 5 million liters of water is because that's about 2 Olympic swimming pools stacked on top of each other. So like 4 meters deep, 50 meters by 25 meters. Exactly. And you could build like a really cool arena in there with like different floors that you could kind of float up through. You can imagine with your scuba equipment. And you could even have like fish or like robot fish just to kind of add a bit of spice.
This is sounding a lot like Ender's Game. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know Ender's Game.
Yeah. But I can't remember what the game is that they call, but it sounds a lot like
when
that.
you're in like a huge robot suit thing.
It's when
they do the gravity thing.
Yeah,
right?
you're in like gravity arena, and you shoot each other and you stun each other. But this time it's paint.
But this time it's real, and we can do it, and it's underwater. You could even do it like, I guess, in pool type situations, or you could do it in the sea, like in shipwrecks. Like, imagine how crazy that would be.
Like,
so I suppose
paintball. Nice.
The question would be is have you solved the issue of friction when firing the paintballs?
You're going straight in.
Okay. There's a lot to think about. And I think I have solved potentially how to do the paint and getting the pellets far enough, but I haven't solved that not killing people.
I think we found the same solution there.
Because obviously the first thing I did was look for some videos of like how does a paintball gun fare underwater. Unfortunately, when you fire it, if it's like a closed system with like the compressed air, it will fire the paintball, but with the drag and the resistance of like, you know, the density of the water, the paintball just sometimes doesn't even leave the barrel. Not ideal.
Okay.
And also the paintballs, they swell in the water and just get stuck and block the paintball guns. But there's a few things. So
like a shotgun.
Like a shot. Yeah. I mean, well, I think the solution could be a shotgun. I was looking at what the military use underwater. They've got a couple of things. Some guns kind of use these things called flechettes, which are like tiny little steel arrows which obviously kind of travel much easier through the water. You can imagine like spearfishing. That's just like
Before I met my fiance, a flechette is what I used most of the time, actually.
A flechette. Nice. I'm sure. Gosh, I'm sure you had a few trips to A&E. Ouch. Flechettes or the tricky thing with that is trying to balance it so it doesn't kill people or damage their scuba equipment, right? And also putting some paint on the end that doesn't swell. Bit tricky. Another thing I found is there's this ammunition company that makes this ammunition that's called like super cavitating ammunition, which basically like kind of has a trail of vapor behind it, and by doing that it reduces drag, so it can actually travel like 60 meters underwater and kill the target, which I get is not our goal. So I think it'd be quite a tricky
It's high stakes
balance.
paintball, isn't it?
It's real high stakes paintball. I mean, I love high stakes things. It's like furniture building is high stakes Lego, right?
I mean, could we just armor each player?
Well, I think I've read up on this Cavex ammunition, and the thing is that it actually breaks through steel like 70 meters off the water. So,
I mean, diamond armor or netherite probably would work well.
That will probably work
potentially.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I think that's a whole other.
But at this
thing
point, are we not just engaging each other in a gunfight underwater? Like, what's the paint? You can put a bit of paint. Okay.
So you have
that's the tricky thing. I mean, I did think maybe because the paint is fun, right? And it sort of marks people that they've been hit, so they can't be dishonest and pretend. Like like in BB, what's it called? Airsoft. I think it requires a lot more honesty. But maybe a possibility is that you use like lasers, because lasers that are like blue-green lasers still travel quite well underwater because red lasers are absorbed when you get quite deep. And maybe you just have lasers and then people just have these packs that have loads of paint on, little paint pockets that will just
underwater laser
get hit by a laser. Underwater laser tag with paint.
And mirrors, so you can really aim 3D.
Can bend the bullet.
Yes, Max.
What was that? And what?
Mirrors.
Oh, mirrors. Oh, I see.
Yeah, like imagine bouncing a mirror off like the crow's nest of a shipwreck down onto the front of. I mean,
round some coral.
Or you have like a prism,
be like,
so it basically scatters, and you have like you just have to shoot and hit everyone in the wreck.
This is good. You could have like kill cams.
I mean, what's that happen with the water anyway? Like water effectively acts as a prism of sorts, right? Does it not?
Diffraction.
Or, I suppose no. That's only if you're traveling through the surface of the water. I suppose that it.
Yeah,
well, I think if you're firing a laser from out of water and then into water.
I think what you're thinking of is like, doesn't it really affect you if you have multiple wavelengths? And a laser, by definition, only has one, so we might not have that issue. Or do we, Stan?
Yes, Stan, engineer.
I think diffraction. I think indeed happens when you go from one medium to the next. Then you get a different angle, and then that's why light scatters into a
different wavelength.
What's that? Into like a rainbow out of a prism. I don't know.
I think lasers
can I ask you though?
Yeah.
What do you reckon is what swells? Is it the paint, or is it the capsule that the paint is in?
I might actually propose like a different idea, because I think we just could go really old school there.
Yes.
And
I love it.
Because I've had that topic as well. I've designed, well, I didn't really design, but I thought up a device like this. So you have like an underwater spearfishing gun, and you have like a little paint pot on the front.
Right.
And just like a little pot of acrylic paint at the end, at the tip of the spear.
Absolutely.
Like fire into the water.
I haven't figured out how refills work, and you will have to reel it. So like it's a really one shot that should count, but it could work.
Oh yeah, it could totally work. I love it.
Like underwater paintball muskets.
Basically.
It takes ages to reload. You have to reel your spear back in, get another little bottle of acrylic paint from your holster, stuck it on the end.
Or you just have 5. And you like just whack one out after the other.
Could you not like the Van Helsing crossbow, right? With like the rotating like the rotating magazine with all of those little arrows in. Like that would work, right? Surely.
That would work.
And if the paint was inside the arrow, not on the outside, and the tip of the arrow only broke or burst when it hit something solid, and then it would splash a little bit of paint on people.
Yeah,
and
you'd get like half the time it would go into the person.
I mean,
it sounds like.
Well, you can blunt the sharp end, surely.
Yeah, and if people are wearing armor,
and it has to hurt a bit. You need that negative feedback.
Yeah, you do.
in a game that's purely done for fun.
So there could be a league here that like this is a competitive sport. Like
of course.
How would that work? How would the championships work? Would it be is it a team-based sport or is it an individual thing, all against all?
Oh, I think probably like this classic team deathmatch. But I guess you could then expand onto like capture the flag,
prop hunt.
Other. Yeah.
I also think we should have different modes.
Shotty snipers.
So I thought.
Shotty snipers. Yeah.
One of the questions I asked myself is like what different designs and concepts would we go to? And like the scuba diving is the obvious one and probably the best one. But also there's a fringe community of apnea divers. So you could basically then combine the best out of 2 worlds. So you basically have an arena that's half out of the water, half in the water. And then you have like tunnels you can dive through. And zip lines, for example, because they're awesome leaning into the water.
Throwback. Excuse me, can I ask, apnea diving? Is this sleep apnea?
No, like holding your breath.
They're all like this machine, like all just like...
It was just asleep.
It is also just physiologically very interesting because in scuba, and Oscar will back me up on that, and also in apnea diving, what you try to do is to get into like this meditative state and conserve oxygen as much as possible. And that is very diametrically opposed to what you do in paintball, which is like swim or run as mad as you can. Just try to get away.
So in effect, it's got to be like really, really, really zen, calm, underwater archery with paint. Is where we're at, effectively.
It's become an art, essentially.
What I kind of imagine when you said about the apneic diving, I just kind of made me think of free divers. And imagine if you had like free divers. Yeah, so free divers versus like a team of scuba divers. Because the scuba divers would have the advantage of... be able to obviously stay down for a long time, but breathing, but they'd have plumes of bubbles coming out from like exposing their positions, right? Unless they had some kind of the rebreathe thing. So the free divers, I guess, you could sort of sneak up for air, but they'd be kind of silent and
if
deadly.
you have like this slow reload with the gunner proposed, you could, as a free diver, just dive up, grab another one, and then dive down and be quick at reloading than the scuba diver.
Starting to feel like the plot of what's that movie again with the blue people?
Avatar.
You've got naturalists, and they don't use any equipment, and then you've got the things with the robots
it's Pocahontas,
and also you could
Avatar.
Combine it. Like you could have a part of the arena over water, and as a free diver, you could basically walk over water and jump into a different bit.
Can you walk over water?
Oh, well, no, not over water.
Well,
like
have like
to a different water. Sorry, that went a bit far. I agree.
You're coming in with really high concept things like sleep apnea diving. I don't know what this means.
And then you can walk on water apparently. Right, gotcha.
Wow. This sounds like a really good idea. Just have different teams that maybe have their own sort of disadvantages and advantages, and then just pit them against each other in a tournament. Yeah.
My question would be, how does it benefit humanity, and how could we make a banging thumbnail out of it?
Well, a banging thumbnail is easy. It's just someone with a spear gun paintball thing firing paint at like a great white shark next to a shipwreck, while there's some like ninja dressed freedivers in the shipwreck. Awesome, banging thumbnail, and I think it improves humanity by just being bloody great fun.
And let's not forget, it is great cardiovascular conditioning if you can hold your breath for 2 minutes whilst being chased.
And you put a bunch of people with sleep apnea underwater and give them a spear gun.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good cardiac workout.
It's going to cure sleep apnea, I'm sure.
It'll only be a positive thing.
They'll never sleep again.
Weird idea. We know that people with patients with asthma benefit from training of inspiratory muscles. So they could potentially be the freediver team.
There you go.
And you have asthmatics against non-asthmatics.
Say that again, Max.
Yeah, get the COPD patients as well.
Yeah, well, sure.
You say asthmatics are better at breathing underwater effectively.
Oh, no. I don't say that. I say they benefit, like their asthma gets better if they... Most of them, if they do inspiratory exercise.
I thought you were the asthma team benefit from having asthma and therefore hold their breath longer or something, or I have no idea.
Pop your inhaler.
That's how you diagnose asthma. If they've got gills, you know they've got asthma.
I think the first few rounds would be quite brutal though, because they're all just like.
It is a steep learning curve. I agree.
Yeah. Right, we've got to move on, guys. For our next concept, we are going to come to you, Max. Max, tell us which of the 4 concepts was yours this week.
So I've got Zimmer frame attachments.
Oh, okay.
And I've really went down the rabbit hole of Zimmer frames in that one, and I quite like to share some of my ideas. So
okay, let's go.
It's all about Zimmer frame attachments, and
amazing.
Most people think it's the end of mobility, but I think it's just the beginning. It's one frame and endless possibilities. And I'm going to give you 4 possibilities what we could do with this. Basically, you can order this in the UK and then we could modify it. And the first one...
Take my money now.
...is the Zimmer Blaster.
Is that like a boombox?
Yeah, these are boomboxes on your Zimmer frame. And it will make you feel like, is it your tremor or is it just your bass? And you can finally feel like in your 20s again, like zimmering around the block, being able to actually listen to music without the hearing aid.
I like it a lot.
And actually feel it through your hands. So this is purely entertaining.
I have to say, I do absolutely love that you're so much of an academic that you have once again sourced where you got these free PNG images from on your...
You've got a little bibliography in the bottom corner of your presentation.
Not going to see
so
that.
sweet.
I also like the obviously sometimes I guess the stereotype you see people on bikes or scooters blasting music out that no one else wants to listen to. But I'm imagining someone who's really quite frail on their frame also blasting out music that no one wants to listen to.
Exactly. Why does it have to stop when you're 80?
Exactly.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Exactly.
Get out. It'd be Mozart though, surely.
Because all people with a Zimmer frame listen to Mozart.
Well, I don't know. I think what I just sung was Bach. I'm sorry.
But it doesn't only have to be fun. These attachments can actually be also proper useful because your frame could save your life. And I think everyone of us has been in a gym once at least. I don't particularly like them. But yeah, there you have those treadmills.
I've heard of them.
I'm drinking gin right now.
Yeah.
Have these bars on the side where it can actually read your heart rate. And the thing about people who need a Zimmer frame is usually that they are quite frail or they have multiple chronic conditions. And the biggest killer in our Western society is heart disease. So your frame could actually detect when you're overexerting yourself and you get arrhythmias. And it could then potentially, like the Apple Watch already does, call an ambulance if you collapse outside. So your frame could save your life. But that's just one part of it. It also could be way more fun because like your Apple Watch, it could actually track your fitness. So we could build framed and fit.
Oh, yes.
And you could
Framed
compare
and fit. That's a great tagline.
your Zimmer distance with everyone in the nursing room. You could be the leader of all of Devon in the nursing home category.
Oh, they could have. There could be an app like
Yeah, that could
cyclists.
be it's like Strava, but
Strava.
better. But with
Yes.
You can become the king of the hill.
could
Oh,
be
and you could expand it to all other mobility aids like crutches.
absolutely.
Sticks.
But
I
we're
mean,
gonna
it
get
does-
there.
does
We're
like-
gonna
as
get
like
there,
a-
guys.
As a business, like as a business model, like if you're trying to make the users of the frame more fit, is the model not out-servicing itself to the point where people will no longer need Zimmer frames?
That is a very
Once
good
there-
question, and I might
think we should
address
do
that.
framed and fat, and we should reward people for being fat. And the larger they
So
get,
they have to use the frame for longer and buy more of our products.
buy more frames. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
The frame XXL.
I think I do provide an answer to that question a bit later in this little presentation. So
amazing.
I might defer to that. But one of the main issues of frail people is that they move less and less, and frailty in and of itself becomes like less moving, sarcopenia as we call it. So they get less muscle, and then they fall. And actually, a fall has a lethality rate of 30%. So 30% of people who fall and break a hip over a certain age die of the consequences of that, and that could be an active way to actually get them off the couch and make them Zimmer. And whilst we're on the medical, there's another great way to use the Zimmer frame, and I present the Zimmer Met. And for that, I need to tell you some physiological background, because I love doing that. So we have in certain areas of our body, like namely the hands, the feet, and the face, especially in these areas, we have something called arteriovenous anastomosis. So you basically have arteries that bring the blood from your heart, the oxygen blood and nutrient-rich blood from your heart to your periphery, and the venules bring it back. And between that, usually you have the capillary bed, but in some part of your skin, you have the opportunity to basically unlock the blood and flush it into the capillary bed, or constrict some vessels and like shunt it from one to the other. So this is basically like a heat outlet, or if it's very cold. And it's basically like a temperature portal for your body. And I'm not the first one thinking of that. I actually got the idea from a very smart researching team in Stanford who use exactly this idea to enhance performance in elite athletes, like people in the NBA and the NFL. And they actively cool their hands between their working sets to increase performance, and like massively increase performance by like train people by up to 600% on dips and pull-ups.
Wow.
So
by cooling
not?
by cooling them down.
Yeah, by cooling only the hands. So you can Google that. Actually, it's called the Cool Met.
I like
So I
this.
asked
see where this
myself,
is going.
why not save lives instead of chasing PRs? And I present the Zimmer Met.
Yes.
So you could basically have the same Met attached to a Zimmer frame, and also the quite big box or machine that is used to create that environment within the Met. So elderly people usually struggle a lot with extreme temperatures, like heat and cold are massively influencing and exacerbating chronic conditions. And you see that if the temperature goes down, death rates in the elderly population usually go up. And this could be an excellent way around it. Let Granny put
So it's
her
like an
hands in.
oven mitt
It is, yeah, it looks like an oven mitt, but it
that makes your hands really cold.
Not really cold. Actually, it's like 18 to 20 degrees C. If it's too cold, the portal doesn't work anymore. Everyone knows, like, if you go out in winter and you get like very cold hands, this is because like the vessels constrict and you don't want to lose your heat through your hand. It's like a heat conserving mechanism. So you want it to be nicely cool, but not too cold.
Nice.
So Granny can go to Asta at 38 degrees Celsius, nice and cool, overtake
And then do
everyone
a
else.
backflip.
And
Yeah, because she's an athlete.
because she is an athlete now and uses the framed and fit. And it could work the other way around as well. If it's cold, just use the heat portal and just heat the warm, or just heat the mitt. We all know at Christmas markets how lovely it is to have a nice hot mug of mulled wine in our hands, and it literally warms us through not just drinking it but holding it as well.
Oh yeah.
So this is the Zimmer mitt. And
Right.
from all these very practical and, well, probably quite useful applications, I went a bit bonkers on the last one, the Zimmer
yeah.
Craft.
On the
Because
last one.
why not?
Are those hovercrafts on
Those
each foot of the Zimmer frame?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have to make most out of your limited time, and you can't waste it on commutes, and you shan't be overtaken again. And as we know from before, hovercrafts can go up to 60 miles per hour, so 85 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
85
do
kilometers
know
per
that.
hour.
So-
grandmas jetting it down the M25.
It is definitely shine until you flatline, and
Yes.
So
I love
do
it.
they have to purchase hover shoes separately, or can they stand on the frame, or
I think they are on a
or
pack
they
of two and
they have
one
to
a
just
pack of
run
one.
really fast,
Potentially.
They're just trailing behind.
like a flag in the wind?
They're
And it's
horizontal.
combinable with hovercraft yoga as well, just for mobility purposes, as you
Yeah.
have guessed.
I like that a lot.
So this
Right.
is what we could do with a frame, but that's not everything. Because some
But
people...
wait.
Yeah, but wait. Some people are already too far advanced. So currently in R&D we have the Wicked Wheelie, and
Oh,
people who are
nice.
just not there yet,
a
but want
wheelchair.
to benefit with the insane cane.
I like how the image looks like a crowbar. It looks like a weapon.
It's a lot more dangerous than a cane.
Endless possibilities here.
I mean,
Oh,
it
wow.
definitely bodes well for a fantastic thumbnail. That's for sure. And I do
Oh,
think it helps,
100%.
it does help humanity. Did anyone else have
So-
anything for Zimmer frame attachment?
I've prepared a little bit of something as well.
Oh, nice.
Why'd you go all giggly there, Sten? What happened?
sorry. So imagine, if you will, we've got Nan here, and we're handing her a Zimmer frame, right? Not entirely sure if this is to scale.
It's an enormous Zimmer frame for the person.
The mega frame, if you
Sure.
will.
What's
Incredible.
what I immediately surmised was, you're using the frame and you're picking it up and you're putting it down, but it could be that you're on a flat surface that's black ice or something, right? So it could be very dangerous. Grandma stacks it. This is something that we definitely want to avoid. So
Is
so
that
I
the name of
immediately
the frame?
Grandma stacks it.
grandma stacks it.
The anti-stack.
Yeah, stack.
like
So we all know probably this type of alternative, right? Where there's wheels on the bottom of it, which I thought about this and I thought, this actually probably makes it worse. So maybe you can come up with more ruggedized wheel, and maybe you can put brakes on it, and then they have to pinch the brakes every time they. Or you pinch some sort of handle when you want to move, and then you let the handle go when you don't want to move, so that when you forget that you have to pinch the handle, you're not going to all of a sudden fall over. But then I thought, you know what? If I'm allowed to just attach things to a Zimmer frame, as a robotics engineer, I immediately want to make this thing smart. And I'm thinking of e-scooters and e-bikes, what have you. They've got this thing pedal assistance, right? So you can set up some sort of pedal assistance weight, and however hard you're pedaling on the pedals, that's how much extra power the motor generates for you. So
Okay.
you can
So you put pedals on
feel
the Zimmer frame?
No. We're not quite there yet. So basically, the bicycle can feel when there's motion, and it can choose to add or maybe even reduce power from the system. So I thought, why don't we do that for these wheels as well, right? So we'll come up with some sort of way, and we can do this with encoders and springs and microcontrollers and all the rest of it. We can definitely do that. So
and
then
the frame that fit.
yes. So then, indeed, to maybe add to your framed and fit concept, we can add resistance and maybe even use that as like a regenerative braking idea, right? Where the wheels are being back driven and therefore they generate power. So, these people, they're not working, they're not contributing to society much more anymore. But maybe, maybe in a bit of a...
Yeah,
That's
much like in the Matrix, we can utilize, these organisms.
oh man,
But then I thought, okay, so...
it's going to solve the energy crisis.
yeah. Where's this going to? Are we putting all old people just in little pods of goo and just?
It does
is that the plan here?
put the word human resources in a whole new sphere.
Yeah, it does.
My concept is that they would walk to the supermarket and generate a little bit of extra power, and maybe they can put their little phone, plug it in, and they'll be they can keep calling with their goddaughters and whatever. Friends, other people,
Goddaughters. That's the
goddaughters.
That's the only relationships they have. Is that what you're saying?
I was trying to go for something that a nan would definitely have.
The Zimmer frame has a very, very specific attachment that will only allow a phone to charge if it's being used to phone a goddaughter.
Yes, it's very
It's an ID check,
discriminatory.
and we could sell that data.
Yeah.
So
Cambridge
so-
Analytica.
So I was thinking, okay, so you're pushing along, and these maybe you're back driving the wheels and you're generating a little bit of power. Or maybe Nan walks up a hill and gets a little bit of assistance. You can hang your shopping off of it, and you push, and basically the batteries generate a little bit of power on the wheels, and so therefore you make it up the hill. And then I thought, well, what if you want to make a turn, or what if you want to go directly sideways? You'd have to awkwardly kind of pull your Zimmer frame around and then move over a little bit and then move the other way. Then I thought about these cool things. They're called mecanum wheels or omni wheels. Now just look at this and it will blow your mind.
Are they? What is it like? Wheels
They can rotate sideways,
on wheels?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Wow,
So the guy can rotate. He can go sideways.
Oh, that's so cool.
that is
They can go
awesome.
You can
forward, backwards.
strafe. Where
You
the
can
wheel is
strafe. You can
facing
rotate.
in one direction.
You can
You can
crash.
rotate around your axle, around your the shaft of rotation, the Z axis, whatever.
really
So
good.
yeah, essentially you can directly rotate. So I thought, okay, this could be really cool. So then, we can maybe generate power even if you're going to the side or if you're rotating or whatever. We can back drive, we can drive these wheels, we can turn it into a bit more of a smart system, and we can really help someone get more mobile, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought, I think it's time to leave the evil clutches of Zimmer behind us. And really think out of the box. So we're taking away Nan's Zimmer frame, and
Okay.
I thought, if we are in the market of putting wheels and actuators and smart technology and encoders and springs and stuff in, why don't we just come up with an exoskeleton?
Technically,
Yes.
it is the frame.
It is a frame.
That's so you've got
it's not
wheels
longer
over
a
where
Zimmer's
people's
frame.
joints are.
I guess what defines Zimmer though? What is the? Does anyone know the definition of Zimmer, as in Zimmer frame? Zimmer,
I think it's
presumably,
a
is
really,
a person's name. Right?
really fantastic composer.
Yes, Hans Zimmer has invented
Or the
this.
German word for room.
Maybe this could be the,
that's what it
stem
is.
frame. Well, is the German word for room? Is it Zimmer?
It's Zimmer, yeah.
I love it.
Right.
Oh,
So,
Stan,
yeah,
what's
essentially
going to happen with this exosuit?
So basically, as Nan moves a leg, the encoders will basically pick up that movement is required, and so they'll add a little bit of extra juice, much like an e-bike would, to that movement. And then when the leg swing of Nan stops, it will stop adding more power to that movement, and then the leg can come down, and then the other leg can do the same thing. And so therefore, basically, we're adding a little bit of a robot that holds you up and help you kind of plant your feet. One to the next, to the next, to the next.
That is really smart.
Because we'd be using springs and actuators, we can, of course, this is all going to become electrically powered. We can also turn it around. And again, in the vein of what Max was saying before, we can give people exercise by means of their mobility aid. So we can actually increase friction. And, when Nan, after, 6 months of using this Zimmer exoskeleton, she's going to be buff like nothing else, right? So she's going to be like... so she's going to generate all of this muscle, and it's going to really help eradicate frailty. And so therefore, I think our life expectancy will go up. People will be less, Alzheimer's might reign a lot, like there might be a lot less Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all kinds of difficult diseases, because we are keeping people exercise, and we can force them to exercise as well. They're sitting in their chair comfortably.
Hey now,
remote controlled.
Force them to exercise.
So
we could incorporate remote controlled Nans into underwater paintball. I'm sure there's a way of doing it.
So when
you have to have a full exosuit.
When old Ethel is calling with their goddaughter can actually grab an app and say, you know what, I think you're going to have this phone call on the go.
We just have a bunch of hench Nans walking around.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And inevitably, I feel like other people will want to buy this if it's just constant strength training on all of your movements.
Yes.
That's just going to sell to everyone.
And you can charge your phone whilst you're squatting. I mean, it's basically the Instagrammer's dream.
It's absolutely.
But I think it starts with Nan, because there's a lot of healthcare budget. There's a lot of subsidies that we can get for this probably, and then ultimately later, we can give this to the gym,
the
bros
military,
and ultimately, I think, notoriously, military is always the last in line when it comes to technological advancement.
Yeah, always falling behind.
Yeah. They're
going to have underwater paintball like in 20 years. We're going to have it now.
Yeah. No, this is how it works.
Right, guys. So we've
incredible, Sted.
So also. Fantastic work.
Yeah.
That was
wow.
That was amazing.
For everyone who is just listening to the audio there, look at the YouTube video, because Sten had done all these CAD designs.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I think this is quite an important thing to say, to be right, isn't it? That if you are someone who is still listening to the audio, first of all, why? And also for future reference, check out the video feed, because that's where you get the.
And second of all, we appreciate you listening on your commute, whatever you're doing. Yes. We still appreciate you.
Yeah. I love you so much. Thank you so much for listening.
Right. So let's move on, and we're coming to you next, Sten. I know you've just been, but take us in with your topic this week.
I do love the sound of my own voice. So I
love it as well.
I was thinking about ancient Roman hipsters.
Yes, nice.
Yes,
I've been thinking about it for years as well.
Yes. So my initial thought was, wouldn't it be funny if there was little Marcus Antonius, and he's walking around Rome, and he's let's say he's 16 or something, and he doesn't like society, he doesn't like his mum and dad, he doesn't like the slaves, he doesn't like the wars, he doesn't like the armies, he doesn't like the aqueducts and all that sort of stuff. what he wants is
such a waste of resources, isn't it?
Exactly. He wants to curl his beautiful moustache and wear plaid shirts. There couldn't be two more opposed concepts of a human, of a man, in modern day society. So I got to work, and I thought, okay, well, could there be a hipster? Could there be? And what I was hoping for was I could find old scriptures that I'm very adept at translating for you guys, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Where someone would be, they would be annoyed and they would be saying, "Oh, Marcus is up to nothing, and all he wants is a typewriter," or he doesn't want to get with the modern age. He doesn't like the aqueducts. All he wants to do is, write in slate tablets rather than using ink. Did they have ink? I don't know. Dyes. But you know what? I found it actually very, very hard, because I think the Romans that we know of that have been recorded in history, were like the famous ones, right? They were statesmen, they were nobility, they were all dressed and acted in a very similar way. And none of them would go against the norm. Because, if you wanted to be the emperor or the Caesar, you're not going to do that by wearing a plaid shirt, surely. So I wanted to take it into a broader context. So I thought, what is a hipster, right? What is truly a hipster? I think it's just someone that acts and wants to be different than their peers.
Yeah.
So then I'm going more in the direction of poets and philosophers.
Or Christians at that time.
Or
Well, Christianity was pretty hip.
I do not want to turn this into a religious dissertation just yet.
Them year 2 hipsters. Yeah.
They were very against the norm, to say the least.
Roman
OG against the norms, yeah. Although I would say even before Christ, I think there were people that were more against the norm. And I went more in the direction of poets and philosophers, because, you think of a modern day hipster, they've got the mustache, they've got the beard, and they've got the plaid shirt, and they go into the forest and they read poetry to each other, and they drink IPA and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Beards and mustaches aplenty, for sure. But I think, so poets and philosophers, and I think specifically the people, the philosophers that are in the school of cynicism. And it's not so much like cynicism like what we nowadays, I would say, oh, you're being such a cynic or whatever. The original cynicism as a philosophical school of thought had more to do with being ascetic, basically renouncing opulence and wealth and going into nature and hardening yourself and all these kinds of things. Originally, cynicism is actually a Greek invention. It's 3rd century before Christ, but it made a reappearance in the Roman Empire in the 1st century after Christ.
No one was cynical before then.
No.
Everyone
was just happy.
At least they didn't talk about it.
Just went along with everything. Yeah.
Nothing wrong ever happened before that time.
No.
One day was like, hang on.
Hang on a minute.
This is terrible.
Someone needs to name what I'm about to do.
Yeah. Where have all these aqueducts come from?
We need to get back into nature. So I felt a bit bad, because ultimately this is actually, cynicism is actually, it's an ancient Greek thing, but it did have a revival later in the Roman Empire. So for all intents and purposes, this is a Roman thing. And I would say I would actually also kind of lump ancient Greeks in with the OG. They thought outside of the box. They had the aqueducts and ballistas and calisthenics and democracy.
And drinking wine all day. Nice.
Exactly. I think in the school of cynicism, there is no one as OG as Diogenes. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about Diogenes for a while. Diogenes was born in 412 before Christ, and he died at the age of 89. which is insane.
What a
for
life.
that era.
Person.
Yeah,
He had the framed and fit Zimmer frame.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did. Wooden version with ropes, I'm sure.
Yeah, Zimmering down the aqueducts. Whilst complaining about them.
So Diogenes was the son of a mint master. So his father made coins, and he was driven out of his ancestral town because he was caught debasing currency. He was basically just kind of like chipping little pieces of silver off of coins and trying to like get rich off of that.
Oh, it's like the
So he
Fed.
fled.
Smart.
He fled his town, and he went to the Oracle of Delphi and asked her for advice on what to do. And the Oracle told him, you should deface the currency. And he thought, well, I've already done that. So he actually he interpreted it in a different way. He thought, actually, what she probably means is I should deface political currency. So he went to the seat of political power. He went to Athens.
Is this a real person we're talking about here? We're not in like.
This is a
mythology.
real
This is
philosopher.
a real person. Right.
Yes.
Sten just made this man up.
Yeah.
No.
Stenophanes.
He traveled to Athens and made it his life's goal to challenge established customs and values. Now, what could be more hipster than that? To just go around and just, kicking the mold and going, this is not how it's supposed to happen. So in Athens, he was basically mostly just criticizing cultural conventions of that day. He modeled himself after Heracles, and because he thought that virtue was better revealed in action than in theory. So he basically changed his lifestyle, and he just went around criticizing people. He slept
I
in the
love it.
wild.
And this is how
He
the Germans
ate-
were born.
He slept in the wild and he ate wherever he wanted, and he lived in nature to toughen himself up. He thought he was a cosmopolitan man and he didn't flock to anyone's banner. He said, "I'm no one's man. I belong to the world," which again I think is a very hipster value.
And nothing
He made
as cosmopolitan as sleeping in the woods.
yeah, he made a virtue of being in poverty. To the point where he slept in a clay pot.
What?
What?
Wow.
How big was this pot?
How? How did he...
Was it arse
mean-
first? Like what? I don't.
Oh, I see. Oh, you're bringing up a picture.
Right. Oh, he's like a
There he
tortoise.
is.
Oh,
This
it's
is
quite
actually
a large pot.
it's a barrel, but basically he lived in this pot.
What
I
a
think
life.
he just started a new movement.
Yeah, this guy's really cool. I want to be just like him.
And guys, don't be mistaken. You think this was just some schmo. He was not. Here he is depicted meeting Alexander the Great.
Whoa.
So in Athens, one day Alexander the Great came to Athens, of course, was lauded everywhere around. People came and they basically wanted an audience with him, and they congratulated him, and he went around.
He got about basically.
Yes. And basically, Diogenes was just milling about. He didn't really go to the square, or didn't really he may have heard of Alexander the Great being in the city. He couldn't really be arsed. So actually, Alexander the Great heard of Diogenes, and he went to him. And he went to seek him out because he thought, there's a great philosopher. I may learn something.
This guy's really cool. I want to
The
be just like him.
historian Plutarch has described this meeting as such. Thereupon, many statesmen and philosophers came to Alexander with their congratulations, and he expected that Diogenes of Sinope also, who was tarrying in Corinth, would do likewise. But since that philosopher took not the slightest notice of Alexander and continued to enjoy his leisure in the suburb Cranaeum, Alexander went in person to see him, and he found him lying in the sun. Diogenes raised himself a little when he saw so many people coming towards him, and fixed his eyes upon Alexander. And when that monarch addressed him with greetings, which actually apparently went like this, he greeted him with, "I am Alexander, the great king." To which Diogenes responded, "I am Diogenes, the dog."
Nice. I've heard that
yeah.
quote. I have heard that quote, actually, yeah.
That's great. That's so cool.
I thought you were going into Latin by now, but I mean,
The monarch addressed him with greetings and asked if he wanted anything. "Yes," said Diogenes, "stand a little out of the sun."
yeah.
It is said that Alexander was so struck by this, and he admired him so much, the haughtiness and grandeur of the man who had nothing but scorn for him, that he said to his followers, who were laughing and jesting about the philosopher as they went away, "But truly, if I were not Alexander, I wish I were Diogenes." So you have the man who conquered the known world.
Nice.
And he came to Athens, and there was a guy just bumming about, and he couldn't really be asked seeing him. And he gets visited by the greatest man in the world, and he goes, "Step out of the sun, please."
Yeah. And then that guy's
What a
like,
champ.
"This guy's seriously cool, guys."
I just want his affirmation.
He is the original.
He is the original.
hipster.
The most
I
I
think-
can't believe you found him.
I don't think we can top this, but what I did find really cool is that apparently he was captured by pirates and sold into slavery and settled in
What?
Corinth, where he later on passed away. And in Corinth, he actually passed his philosophy over to Crates, who ultimately turned that into the school of Stoicism, which is a different type of philosophy.
So he died a slave.
No, he was sold into slavery, and he was I don't know. I guess he was a slave. Probably was just bumming about.
Let that be a warning to modern hipsters.
Yeah, and you know whoever bought him basically was like, I don't think this guy is going to do anything for me. So he probably just fled or something, and just ended up dying 89 years old in Corinth, and managed to pass on his school of cynicism.
That was fascinating. Yeah.
Incredible.
That's a hipster.
Thank you for that that incredibly in-depth research. I'm afraid my input into the subject of ancient Roman hipsters is not nearly as in-depth, but it does go a slightly different route, which I hope will be at least somewhat satisfying.
You're always satisfying, Harrison.
I give you Romani Palladium. Romani Palladium is the new fashion brand coming to Paris Fashion Week next year.
Oh, so you've designed a fashion brand.
So. I was thinking about what are the typical codes and conventions of the phrase hipster, and something that is synonymous with the term hipster is fashion, and the fringe edges of fashion. As Sten said, part of being a hipster is stepping away from the curve. So I decided, with this prompt of ancient Roman hipster, that I would come up with a new fashion brand. And as something of a fashion icon myself, I feel like that I am the best, most educated person to present this to you guys. So I started doing a little bit of artwork to sort of figure out what might be the most appropriate look for Paris Fashion Week.
Hang on, is this like an AI generated thing? This is
No,
terrible.
who drew this? Who drew this himself?
No, this is me. I did this. That's got nothing to do with AI. And this was my first piece that I sketched. I drew it with this.
I like the camel in the background that's got loads of sheets draped over it.
Yeah, no, that was I went out of the lines a little bit there, and
It's really hipster though.
yeah, I feel like the idea of like these long like golden hallways and the flowing not just togas but the gold and the jewelry, etc. And that
Pageantry of it all.
The pageantry, exactly. There's showmanship in being a Roman, right? And I think that that translates through to modern day Italy as well, and just generally the Latin speakers of the world. Incidentally, Romani Palladium, Romani. I don't actually know what Romani means. That's just a word I just sort of made up. It probably is a real word, but Palladium.
I think it just means Romans.
Romanian?
I guess so.
No,
Yeah.
Palladium should be coach, isn't it?
Well, Palladium is cloth
Cloth.
in Latin. So
Roman cloth.
hence that's where we got the name from. And yeah, I decided to sort of go down this route, and I just wanted to present to you guys the first design that I've come up with for our fashion line.
Oh, wow.
And this
cool.
this piece here is called the Sten Germani. And it's very much
The
inspired.
guy even looks a bit like Sten.
This is very much inspired by you guys, actually, in truth, and by the influence you have on me.
Oh, I love it.
And the influence you have on the world. And in fact, Sten's LinkedIn profile picture is a photo of him shot from the below, standing up and giving a speech, a presentation in front of an audience. And I felt the prowess and the imperialism that photo gives really lent itself to this outfit of the long
So
white.
could you talk us through this outfit?
Jacket. Yeah. So what we have here is a white bed sheet that you sling it over your shoulder, and you wear a watch, like a gold watch with a grey hoodie, basically. But
Nice.
this is
Under the bedsheet.
We don't have any real sort of prototypes of the Sten Germani yet. They are very, very
I have
much
half
still
of the
in,
prototype in mind.
Yeah, there we
He's
go.
got the grey hoodie.
If you can just get yourself a bed sheet, that's all we need. And that led me on to my next piece, the Fergalini.
I like it.
Yeah, this
Sounds like a
piece,
pasta.
as inspired by Ferg, who of course is a medical doctor, and the sort of current modern times, features a face mask as well as the beautiful garb of typical Roman persons. Now the face mask does blend a little bit with the beard. And I'm still working on that. I'm not sure how we can make that.
It also
happen in real
kind
life
of
yet.
looks like there's like a hook coming out of the face mask.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think that's just where it's come off of the other ears. All that is. And it's just sort of,
okay.
So the fleshy swing of the other bit.
yeah, exactly. It's just sort of
I get you.
flopped down. But I feel that the glasses really set this outfit off, as well as that beautiful orange.
Very
scarf.
typically ancient Roman glasses there.
Yes, exactly. But we're going for modern day. This is a postmodern ancient Rome. These are ancient Roman hipsters in 2022.
I like that medical
ancient
doctor
high
Fergalini
fashion.
also wears the face mask under the nose.
Below the nose, negating all of its use. I like
This is
it.
what artificial intelligence
It's just
actually
an accessory,
how it
guys.
works.
Like,
Yeah. And
We're a blight on this planet.
That's what a hipster would have. It's very cynical.
It is. The next outfit that I have for you is called the Fergal Max, and
Whoa, like a combination.
this one was inspired by both Oscar and by Max as well. And incidentally, I couldn't find a photo of Max, so we went with another photo of Oscar, and this is what I came out with. And this outfit. Not only do you are you wearing the sort of the hooded top piece, but the face mask also attaches to the headphones as well, and becomes one with not only the headphones but also the headband. And this may be my favourite piece.
I love it.
From the
And
collection.
the face mask is not even covering the mouth either.
it's the chin
just below the chin.
Well, this is taking inspiration from sort of 2019, 2020, 2021 sort of modern fashion in which we have seen many millions of people not knowing how to use a face mask and wearing them in the wrong place. And quite frankly, I think it's become a bit of a
I like
look.
it.
So,
It's a nod to it.
We thought we'd patch that in.
Great stuff.
And then for
really good.
For my final piece, we have the Harris Jack White Hauliers, which was inspired by myself, and I feel there's a little bit of a sort of unconscious Jack Whitehall in there as well, possibly
there's a
also
little bit of
some fetal alcohol syndrome.
well, it does have a bit of a regal
little
feel
bit.
as well. I'll be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah, it looks
And,
very
uh,
great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And this one really, the gold on the sleeve is one thing, but this one really, the centerpiece of this outfit has got to be the hat. and
I love the hat. It's like a beanie with like gold on the front.
It's a beanie with gold on the front. It's made out of an old pillowcase that's been stitched together that might be leather, but you can't really tell. And
nice.
and yeah, these are essentially the pieces that I've put together. We do have just a little more sort of content here, just to show you some of the inspiration and some of the work in progress. But yes, this is
absolutely stunning.
Romani Pallium, and I
can't wait to see it in Fashion Week
soon.
Go full on hipster, and we use hemp fiber.
I think you've done I think you've done extremely well to marry the ancient with modern society. Beautiful.
So now you just need Diogenes to wear this stuff.
Yeah,
while
I think
sitting
he
in
looked
his clay
particularly
pot.
good in the Fergalini, I have to say.
Yeah.
Or we just design like a clay pot as a tiny house as part of it. And carry it around on the walkway.
That's true. On
Very
the catwalk.
tropey, very good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Just walk down the catwalk in a clay pot. Love it.
So, yes, that is my little addition to Ancient Roman Hipsters. And I think we need to move on to our final subject of this week, which is space beef. Now, space beef was actually
hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you. When you originally said it, it was Space Beef 3.
Oh, it's Space Beef 3. It is
okay.
Is correct.
Thank you.
It is Space Beef 3. Yeah. It is Space Beef 3. And I'm actually going to abdicate the limelight on this one over to Oscar. Because I don't have anything for it, despite the fact that it was mine. But I know that Oscar does.
I'm actually kind of relieved because I've been thinking about this a lot, to the point where I really feel like Charlie from Always Sunny, where he's in the mailing room and there's just loads of lines everywhere, and he's like trying to find where the letters go.
What's the guy's name?
Pablo?
It's Pablo
Pedro
or something, isn't it?
Pedro.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. Because obviously, I saw Space Beef 3. My initial thoughts were, this either sounds like the sort of vegan meat of the future that solves the climate crisis by requiring no space or materials on Earth to make, or Space Beef 3 is some kind of epic sci-fi movie about a feud between two space lords with awesome dogfights in space, fist fights in alien casinos, betrayals in the bellies of space worms, and it's the third time they've done it. They've not learned from Space Beef 1 or 2. It's the third one, right? But I kind of just took a step back, stripped the title down to the basics. Okay, so Space Beef 3. So what is space? Well, space is the three-dimensional extent in which all objects and events have relative position and dimension and direction, right? And that can be the near vacuum of space in which all galaxies and celestial bodies, planets, and life can be found. Or it can be the tiny little space, in letters on paper that you fill in with pens at school. There's a lot of differences there. Space can also be a kind of a psycho-sociological thing, like mental space or getting some space. And I was thinking, when might we need to get some space? Well, I think probably when you're in a deep feudal relationship or conflict with someone, like a beef, right?
I feel like you're being pulled back to your original. I love it.
So then I looked at what beef is. So beef is meat from cows. And beef is also an acronym for a real place called the Big Explosives Experimental Facility. Beef.
No way!
Yeah, it's a real place. It's in Area 4 of the Nevada National Security Site, out in the desert, somewhere in the US, and they test loads of nuclear weapons there, right? So this is where all the kind of drawing strings and red lines between everything. I need to bring this together, right?
Yeah.
How do we combine all this, right? So Area 4, so limited space. What if you work at Area 4, you've got beef with someone, right? I don't mean it could be that you have beef with someone because you went out to dinner with them one of you had this vegan space beef and the other one had normal beef, and then I don't know, you had some kind of argument about it. And you're both working on this Area 4, right? Which is like a small space where you're just sitting there, just testing nuclear weapons all day, and you just can't get away from this person, right? And you come into work and your boss says, "Oh, you need to blow up a nuclear bomb today. Please work together, and don't mess this up, or we'll all die." And I think that sets the scene for some quite pretty entertaining events where, like, you have two rocket bomb scientists in like a really confined little bunker, shoulder to shoulder with their clipboards and a big red button, testing weapons at the beef facility, and just desperate to get space from each other. And maybe they kind of end up inventing loads of crazy scientific technology to try and get some space from each other. And then it ends up that through all this crazy technology, they end up going to space to get space from each other. And then it turns out, if this is Space Beef 3, it's like the prequel to Space Beef 1 and 2, where they're space lords because they've invented all this technology to be in space because of the beef between each other.
Right.
There you go.
Does that mean
I love it.
that's it?
That's it. Got that.
And that's it.
Do something with that.
And it's all been sparked by fake meat.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
So is this like Star Wars: A New Hope, where they didn't know it was going to be Episode 4 until the rest of the prequels? Sorry, the rest of the original trilogy had been written. Is this?
Yeah, like they made Space Beef 3 first.
Yeah, they make Space Beef 3 first, but it's the third one.
Yeah, it is, and it's all product placement for Space Beef.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Actually, and you could give it some fun subtitles, like the origin of the steak, because they fall out literally over the steak.
Yeah, so high stakes.
High stakes.
Like what?
Double.
So
meaning.
what we're hoping is that ultimately this movie is going to launch a franchise of space-grown beef. So a movie is going to launch an industry
that would be great.
where we go into space and in orbit we cultivate cows. It's beautiful.
It's like,
it's like an asteroid made of soy.
And we have so many options, like the soy strikes back.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good.
Return of the ribeye.
The return of the
Oh, yes.
I have to say the idea of like cultivating beef in space is the only route that I did sort of go down with my thought experiments on space beef.
Of course,
I did make just a little recording in the car on the way to record this actually. But I
recorded a little message to yourself about space vegan meat.
I recorded a little thing of me and Matt in the car, and I won't play it, but it was. I'll give you the gist of it. It was effectively, it was really off the cuff, really on the fly, and it was effectively there's a volcano in Scotland, and the volcano erupts in Scotland, and 3,000 light years away, in a different solar system. Jebelalu, I think that was his name. It's Jebelalu, who's a elf cow on another planet, heard it, and then went to school the other day and had an argument with someone about what the noise was, and that was space beef, and they had space beef.
That's space beef.
Yeah, and so the fact that they were elven cows doesn't come into it at all. It
was like the pointy ears.
And the ears are very big, so they
ears.
could hear the explosion.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. And they move independently to each other, and they whistle sometimes as well.
So I think like to add another layer of beef, we've got space beef, the sci-fi genre, and we've got space beef, the sort of Lord of the Rings spin-off that's kind of spacey.
Oh yeah,
beautiful.
But is kind of sci-fi themed. And then we've also got Beef, the big explosives experimental facility. And we've got Beef, the feudal relationship between the space lords.
So it's the beef of worse, basically.
And the volcano in Scotland is called Beef as well, funnily enough. So
Can we make sure that one of these generals is called Wellington?
Yes.
yeah, Scotland's most active volcano, Beef.
So many levels of beef, so many levels of space.
Right, I think that's probably about time to wrap up this week's episode of Fingerless Gloves. Thank you very much to Max, to Oscar, to Sten. Do you guys have anything else you would like to input before we sign off?
I just love and value you guys so much.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too. It's been a blast.
That goes to the listeners as well.
I
if
try
you,
some space beef now.
Yeah, I'm going to go get some space beef. That little sort of white fluffy thing on the floor behind you, Stan, looks like a nice, delicious slice of space beef.
His little Mickey, is he lying on his back?
Through the night.
He's
Nice.
sleeping.
Nice.
Oh, little Mickey.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of Fingerless Gloves. If you're on YouTube, please make sure you like the video and subscribe as well. And if you're listening on any other platform, please do the equivalent. That's it. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.